now about how black people are treated. Shove it in our faces. Like I do. That's right, people. Aftershock. That's apparently a show on Hulu about how women who are black are 5 times more likely to die of diseases than white women because of health care. Of course, when we look into the healthcare situation among the homeless, we find out that the disparity is far larger than it is with black women, especially homeless males. The reason for this is because there are plenty of services for women. Where are the services for men? How are men treated when they go in for services compared to women? How are they treated by the community compared to women? I do. One moment. Here you go. Anyway, when it comes to situations like this, there was a situation where there was a few people in one of these groups wanting to say that male victims need to go to the back of the bus. I'm sick of that.
Male?
Do what?
Male?
Yeah.
Men?
Yeah, I'm making a YouTube video.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Anyway, a lot of people don't want to recognize that there are male victims. I mean, hell, why do we have MMIW? You know what MMIW and MMIP are, don't you? MMIP is missing and murdered indigenous people. That's the old group. Now it's MMIW, which is missing and murdered indigenous women. That's right, indigenous people, in order to get you guys to actually look and care, they have to pretend nearly half of the victims don't exist. That's right, MMIW, that's missing and murdered indigenous women. That's just the women. We're not talking about the men at all. Native Americans have to pretend that their male victims don't exist. The missing and murdered male victims never existed. They have to pretend those things didn't happen and try to just talk to people on a local level. Well, on a local level, it doesn't work, does it? We need to get the American people to care. How do we get the American people to care? We say women, women, women. Oh, we don't care about Native people, but we care about Native women because the word women's in there. So what does America care about? Women. All these women saying they're not being heard. No, we are hearing you. We're hearing you telling us conflicting things. We need to keep ourselves out of women's issues. And then we need to speak up for women's issues. But are women speaking up for men's issues? No. Not very many. If you're going to ask me to speak up for your rights, keep in mind I already do. I already fight for black rights. I already fight for women's rights, and I already fight for natives' rights. Despite the fact that each one of these groups wants to tell me I need to go to the back of the bus because of my gender, because of my skin color. Holy hell. People, there's a place for it, but it's not appropriate in these other groups. No, that is exactly the appropriate place for it. And I'll give you an analogy to explain it. Most of our issue is with law enforcement. Most of it, for all of us. Minorities and homeless alike. Why is this? It's called poverty. The skin color thing is just a byproduct. Most Southerners did not own slaves. Most Southerners were drafted to fight in the Civil War. After the Civil War, well, the Southern people were able to sell to their public that it was a conspiracy to keep them from deciding for themselves what rights they could and could not have in their states. Owning another person should never be a right, not even if you're married. Not even if it's your kid. No, that's still a human being. Blackberries. Oh my God, they're good. At least I can forage for food here, right? Somewhat. Can't live on just blackberries though, it'll make you sick. I try to watch the amount that I'm eating in a day so I don't get sick. Anyway, we've been told over 100 years now that men need to go to the back of the bus. Over 100 years now of more and more special rights for women, special rights for women. There was a point where it became equal. It was almost 30 years ago, where women were being paid for the same jobs and the same amount of hours, about equal amount for for what they were getting. A lot of women at that point in time were able to get things that men couldn't, even a single father. It was very sexist and geared towards helping only women, specifically women. Now, during that period of time, it was actually pretty fucking equal because of those laws. Yes, women may get paid less, but they're entitled to more. Now we're at the point where we've got women who are druggy baby factories, popping out a lot of children, and going to college for the rest of their lives because they won't stop having kids. They never actually get a real job. Now we're supposed to do that stuff to the homeless, aren't we? You just need to get a job. You just need to get a job. With a single mom, we don't do that. If it's a single dad, we do. With a single mom, we might help her to go to where she needs to go to get those resources. We might actually put actual effort towards it instead of just telling them to go somewhere and telling them to do it themselves. Males can be victimized too. So the analogy I was going to make is a police officer, rapes a black woman and a white woman. Now, it's just like BLM and MMIW. Both of them have been victimized by the same person. And rather than working together to put a stop to the rape, you've got one woman who wants to claim that it's because of the color of her skin, and that the other victim needs to shut up and go to the back of the bus. She's the wrong color to be a victim. The wrong color. You can't be a victim, you're a white woman. They do this to black women only. That's the narrative that you're trying to sell at that point. It only happens to black women. Or it happens to black women more. Black women more than who? You want to say that certain groups are the most marginalized in the country, like BLM trying to pull that. No, BLM is not the most marginalized group in the country. Let's start with Boulder, Colorado. In Boulder, Colorado, if you're a black male and you're arrested, well, per capita, you're about 5 times more likely to be convicted. If you are homeless, per capita, you are 340 times over 340 times more likely to be arrested and convicted over your housed counterparts. Yeah, you're a lot more likely to be victimized as a homeless person. Yeah, people who are at them BLM rallies will tell you you need to get a job. People who go to BLM rallies will yell at you that it's all your fault that they're broke. Your fault. Your fault because of the color of your skin. Your fault because of your gender. You need to go to the back of the bus. You can't possibly be a victim because of your gender. You can't possibly be a victim because of your skin color. No. A victim is a victim, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their gender. We need to listen to all the victims. We need to take what they have to say seriously, instead of going out of your way to discredit them because you don't want to look, you don't want to do your job, you don't want to investigate, you don't want to help another person, but you want to shame them like they owe it to you to help them. How many women do you know that try to shame you as if you're a bad person for not doing what they want when they fucking want it, for not agreeing or believing in everything that they want? How many women will destroy your life or have actually tried or even been successful because you didn't do what they wanted? How many men are out there sitting in a jail cell right now because they turned a woman down? Oh yeah, quite a few. There are a lot of women that if you tell them you won't have sex with them, well shit, you guys get to hear those guys who are intelligent. What do? They record it. They post it up on YouTube. So that one guy who broke up with his girlfriend, he was a younger fella. He only looked about 15, but his girlfriend was on the phone with him saying that because he broke up with her, she was going to run around and tell people he was a pedophile because he broke her heart. Whoa. Now tell me that's not fucking psycho. Saying stuff like that gets people killed. If you falsely accuse somebody of things like that, like Maddie Boa did, yes, you should be charged in the least with attempted manslaughter, if not attempted murder. How many times have we seen people that are murdered just for being accused? Just being accused is excuse enough to murder them. How horrible is that? It doesn't matter if they're guilty or not. All of America will applaud them. No court date. Never get to face your accuser. You never get to show evidence. And we get to see how very, very heavily all of these police who are murdering homeless people and murdering white people, this is ignored by the media. The media itself and BLM are helping to create the race issue that is making BLM on their fucking own. And at this point, with the hatred and the support of that hatred coming from BLM, the racism coming from BLM, the blaming all white people, it's white people, white people, white people, and how many white people, how many white mothers stood in front of BLM protesters, not to block them from marching, but to create a wall of white bodies so that if police officers wanted to start shooting people, they'd have to shoot some white mothers, and all of America is going to say something about that, aren't they? It's not a matter of a whole hell of a lot more than your looks, your gender, and your money. That determines who is allowed to be a victim. You think that these Native Americans want to ignore all of their male victims? No, but they have to, because you won't care about the female victims if they say people instead of women. We got to put a stop to this, but that requires working together. If BLM can't work together with MMIW and MMIP, if we have to retire missing and murdered indigenous people and adopt missing and murdered indigenous women, in order to get people to look. Does that not show how sexist American society is? Or how important it is to use the right words and to allow all evidence to be shown. Selena Not Afraid should not have been killed. Henny Scott, yeah, she should still be alive. How about Natalie Bollinger? Yep, for surely, she should still be breathing. You're fucked up. People who know me in person, who swore that they loved me, swore that they would look at the evidence, that they would speak up. They didn't. They made every excuse not to. And people are dead. But they're not living the consequences, are they? It's not their loved ones that are dead. These people who have been harming me over Natalie Bollinger, most of them didn't even know her. All of the followers that Natalie Bollinger's family got, these are her predators and mine. All right? These were not just Natalie Bollinger's predators before her death. They were also mine prior to and after her death. I need help showing the evidence, but without a guardian, that ain't a happening thing. None of this ever should have been allowed to happen, and had I actually had a guardian, none of it would have. Well, provided they do their jobs anyway. But what are the chances of that without civilian oversight? That's why a lot of people want to make a distinction of guardianship. They want to tell me I don't want a government guardian. That came from Marcia Estrada herself. She's a professional in her field. And she's telling me that I don't want a government-appointed guardian. Yeah, it's a lot different when it comes from the professionals, ain't it? It's one thing when you call somebody mentally ill and pretend like they're schizophrenic, and another entirely when you get to look at the evidence and listen to the evidence for yourself, including conversations with Marcia Estrada. Yes, I have PTSD, not schizophrenia. That's right, PTSD, not schizophrenia. She says I'm on the spectrum. Well, duh. You guys expect me to act perfect, to have no reaction to anything whatsoever. If I have any emotional reaction to anything, you harm me for it and treat me like I am a bad person. I'm not allowed to love. I'm not allowed to hate. I'm not allowed to be frustrated. I'm not allowed to be afraid. I'm not allowed to speak out. I'm not allowed to show evidence. There's a lot of things I'm not allowed to do because of the mentally ill tag. And you get to see how many people got away with it. All of them over the same thing, the mentally ill tag. And they're all hoping the evidence will go away. A lot of people, after claiming that I slandered them and then realizing that those words came out of their mouth and they're on my YouTube channel, after they accused me of slander, they realized it had already been up for months. Whew. Must be tough for them to claim something that is slander that came out of their own mouths. And then they want to say things like, oh, I never said that. Yeah, buddy, it's been on the internet for quite a while now. Anybody who watched that video knows that, yes, I told the truth. And what do they do at that point? Ah, shit, this is my fault. I left my bag here on top of my vehicle instead of taking it with me. Intelligent, right? Anyway, I'm not going to stop fighting for women's rights. But I'm also not going to go to the back of the fucking bus about my own. And I'm not going to stop bitching at victims who want to victimize the other victims because they happen to be a different gender or a different color of skin. You know, if a police officer rapes a woman who is white, a woman who is black, and a man who is white, which one of those victims should be heard? Trick question, all three of them should be heard. Anything contrary to that is stupidity. This is why BLM is stupid. This is why MMIW is stupid. This is why the American people are stupid. All of the victims need to be heard. Instead of telling some of the victims you need to go to the back of the bus. That's right, them two white victims, the male and the female, both need to get to the back of the bus because apparently we're trying to sell a narrative that this only happens to black people. No, this happens to poor people, stupid. Poor people. Folks are a lot likely to believe that if you're a minority that you're poor. And rightly so, because here in the United States, anybody who's not white, we like to blame for all of our problems. Isn't that right? Or anybody who doesn't have money, or anybody who's not good looking. Again, being in a capitalist society, it comes all the way down to money. Again. Now then we got brown people. That's right. Hispanic people who actually make this country a better place. Most of the people who have helped me out with my vehicle and helped me out with some sort of decency, some of them didn't even speak a word of English. And why does their system work in the United States? Capitalist country. When the white people mentality of telling your kids at 18, all right, get the fuck out of my house, I raised you, get the hell out of here. After spending 18 years of telling your kid they're the most useless, worthless, fucking stupid piece of shit on the goddamn planet. And then, of course, they stand zero chance in hell because, well, you have to have something to start off with or you're going to go into debt because it's expensive just to exist in the United States. God bless America, right? Alright. So tomorrow, at some point, hopefully we'll get something done. Apparently the people from Oregon here, that won't be today, it'll be in the next few days, I'm hoping, but they really left it open-ended apparently. I thought it was going to be today, but that's the thing about what she was saying while she was talking on the phone versus the fact that I couldn't hear what he was saying. So the interpretation there is pretty fucked up. That's why it needed to be a three-way call. It would have been easier to inform her what's going on and of all the abuse that I've gone through. I did get to, she came back today and I gave the lady a lowdown on what's going on. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't fill her in on because it was kind of, they were there with kids, and you know that's one of those things where you got to try to mind your P's and Q's. I got to worry that the longer that it takes to get help, the more likely it is that I'll be victimized by the police and the public and have more evidence taken or stolen. Have more of the things that it takes to jump through these hoops taken away from you, which makes it 10 times harder to jump through them. And as a male, we don't have access to the programs that women do. We're not treated the same way by these programs as women are. A lot of people, after telling me not to go to the Center for Living because they don't help anybody, tell me, have you tried the Center for Living? Actually, yes, I have. Oh, sorry, sir. I didn't mean to keep y'all locked up over there. Hey, do you think I could buy a cigarette off you? They were mine. That's good. He's the guy that asked me to use my lighter earlier. He got cigarettes for a homeless lady that was over there. She's older and she's gray-haired and she's obese and she's disabled and she should not be out on the streets. She does have her faculties, but she doesn't like people. So there is that. Anyway, I'm not going to go over there and bother the lady. She doesn't like me, and I'm fine with that. She doesn't like anybody new. A lot of folks told me, oh, she's like a dog. Once she gets used to you, it's all right. But until she gets used to you, she just don't like you. Yeah, all right. Whether she likes me or not, I'm going to still fight for her rights because her rights are mine, and I do recognize that. If you take a look at what I've been through and tell me for one moment that if the roles would have been reversed, because they almost were, she pushed me to suicide, but it wasn't just her, it was her and her friends, and also the way that people treated me when I went to them for help. Somebody could have given a shit. They could have understood the simple concept of I am called mentally ill, so I'm not allowed. Someone else has to do it with me. Not for me, but with me. If you're doing it for me, I have to give you a great level of trust. And if you betray that trust, no, that wasn't the bargain. That lady today also, she understood my frustration. And that I get angry and I yell on my YouTube channel about my frustration. And she understands that it's not saying she's a horrible person. Now, if she does horrible things, yes, I'll speak out about it. But they do have to be actually horrible things. And she hasn't shown me any indication. Nobody in her family has given me any indication that they're anything but good to people. I mean, these are poor folks that feed homeless folks. I'm all for standing up for female victims, but you know what? I'm going to stand up for male victims too. I'm all for standing up for black victims, but I'm going to stand up for the white ones too. MMIW shouldn't have to destroy MMIP in order to operate. There's a lot of women out here on the streets, and they complain about how expensive it is to go to this help, how much time it eats up, how it prevents them from going to the places where they're able to get food, how it cuts them off from other services, how they spend $200 to get $50 worth of services, and it eats up 16 hours of their month or more. I mean, at that point, somebody's basically done 2 hours or 2 days, 2 full work days of manual labor, in addition to, well, they're probably getting paid less than minimum wage. So $200, let's say they're getting paid $5 an hour, which they might be, and it might not even be that much. But at $5 an hour, how many times does that go into 200? I gotta tell you how many more hours in addition to those 16 hours that you're gonna have to do. And you're talking about people who are disabled, both physically and mentally disabled, and you're going to victimize them because they can't jump through those hoops. They're homeless because they can't jump through those hoops. They're homeless, most of them, because of victimization. And what do? You victimize them for being homeless. Thanks, you wretch. And then you tell them they're not the right color for your help. I'm against BLM. I'm not against black rights. I'm against the Me Too movement. But I'm not against victims' rights or women's rights. What I'm against is selling an evil fucking narrative. When you want to sell a narrative for a victory, a narrative that you know is untrue, just like the rest of the public knows it's untrue. But they're going to go along with it because it's what we're told is politically correct. You best be politically correct or people will hate you. Well, I'm not politically correct. I don't know anybody who is. I know people who try to be, but if your words don't come out perfectly, you're a demon. Well, unless you're a woman, in which case, well, it's your prerogative. You're allowed. Our society has been created and, of course, forced this women can't be predators bullshit for long enough. The top 6 female serial killers in America. All 6 of them are nurses. All 6 of them. One of them killed almost 400 people. One of them may have gotten away with killing almost 600 people. That's 1,000 people just between 2 of those killers. If you add up all of the school shootings in America, the number is still lower than that. Lower than just those 2 killers. Just those 2 female nurses. Just those 2 people who are in the right position of power to use their gender and that position to murder people and to get away with it for a very long time. Well, people had suspicions and wanted it to be investigated, but who would investigate a poor nurse? Oh no, nurses wouldn't do this. A nurse would never kill anybody. A Catholic priest would never molest a little boy. No, none of those people in the Baptist church raped any of those little girls. They would never do that. Their religion prevents them from doing it. If they had really raped those little girls, God would have struck them down with lightning. Oh, fucking holy shit. The ignorance comes out of religious folks' mouths. What was the battle cry of the Christians during the Crusades? God wills it. What was the battle cry of the Muslims during the Crusades? Allah wills it. That's right. Apparently God wanted them to slaughter each other wholesale and murder each other's children. That's apparently what God and Allah got together and decided. I don't take stock in your religion. I want to see facts. I want to see the actual evidence itself. I post up actual evidence. I post up what I can. What I need help with is the stuff that I can't. With my resources, I'm not able to do all the things that you think that I should be able to do. No matter how abusive you are towards me for not being able to do those things, it will not make me magically able to do those things. But no matter how much you tell me to go to the back of the bus because I'm the wrong color or the wrong gender, I'm not going to. And I'll tell you why. It's good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and no victim left behind. I'll say that one more time for the idiots. No victim left behind.